Hey Astro Kids, and welcome back. This is your April 2020 horoscope for Scorpio, Sun, Moon, or Rising. So before I get into the cards, I'd like to take a look at the major planetary shifts for April 2020. So if you like this video, make sure to leave a thumbs up as well as a comment. If you are new to this channel, don't forget to hit the subscribe button as well as the notification bell so that you don't miss out on any new content. So starting off here on April 3rd, Venus enters Gemini. So we are here at the very end of this Venus and Taurus transit. And this is a major moment as Venus is going to spend a very, very long time in Gemini. Venus will retrograde in Gemini, and it will meet up with the North Node in Gemini as well. So this is a major moment of lessons and destiny, and really reviewing and going over relationships and connections and values in your life. And for those of you with Scorpio rising, this puts Gemini in your 8th house. And so with Venus entering into your 8th house, this is all going to be about intimate connections, close connections, shared resources with others, legal agreements for some of you, right? So this is very much personal, private, intimate, behind the scenes connections that Venus is entering into for those of you with Scorpio rising. Now, you may also feel this if you are a Scorpio Sun or Scorpio Moon as well. And with this, there's a lot of learning to do in this area of your life. For those of you, this is dealing with this more hidden, more secretive area of your life. For some of you, this is dealing with intimate connections with others. For some of you, this is dealing with legal contracts. For some of you, this is dealing with resources and benefits attained through others. For some of you, this is dealing with deep feelings, desires, fears, right? This is a very emotional placement. And so there is a lot going on in this area of your life, especially as Venus stations retrograde, which we will see next month. So this is getting you prepared. Venus is getting ready to enter into its pre-shadow phase, right? So Venus is getting ready to enter into shadow. It's getting ready to slow down, getting ready for this retrograde, and getting ready for this big moment of conjoining the North Node, which the North Node is getting to that critical point where it is this last opportunity of the North Node in Cancer before it enters into Gemini. And that is something that we will talk about later on as we go throughout these major transits and shifts. But also, something big to mention is that there is going to be a full moon, and no, it is not on the list here. We're not going to go over it here. There will be a separate video on this full moon in Libra, which will happen on April 7th. And this full moon in Libra will conjoin Juno in Libra. Juno, this asteroid of marriage and commitment. And so with this conjunction of Juno and the full moon, there is going to be a lot going on with relationships. Keep in mind that this is also making the aspect over to Venus, which is going to go through this major retrograde in Gemini. So a lot going on in relationship areas, especially for those of you with Scorpio rising, right? For those of you who have Scorpio, major relationship things going on here with your deeper connections, with your more intimate, more private connections, right? With the things that you share with those closest to you. And so very personal, very private, very intimate matters that this relationship shift is primarily dealing with in your life. And for those of you with Scorpio rising, this does put Libra back in your 12th house, also a very secret house, very intimate house, right? Where fears, where subconscious and unconscious feelings and desires are, right? Very much behind the scenes as far as how this Venus in Gemini is affecting you. Now also, one thing that you're going to feel majorly on this new Venus transit is the moon. The moon is in Leo starting off on this transit of Venus and Gemini. And this is a major point for you as you are a Scorpio rising. So with Scorpio rising, this does put Leo on your midheaven for many of you, right? This puts Leo in your house of career, of social status, of your reputation in your public life, in your professional life, how you are seen by the world. And so with this moon here, this can bring up very deep feelings about your professional life, about your public life, right? A lot of deep feeling, a lot of sensitivity in this area. And very much connected to the times that we are going through at this moment, right? Which is a part of this Venus transit as it is making the aspect over to Jupiter and Pluto and Capricorn, which Capricorn is sitting in your third house of intellect, of communication, of short distance travel, of acquaintances and associates, of familiar surroundings. And so there is this major shift in the way that you think, in the way that you believe at this moment. Very much this major expansive shift with Pluto and Jupiter conjoined in your house of intellect. And keep in mind that this is the first time that we are seeing Pluto conjunct Jupiter without Saturn. Saturn has left, it has moved on to Aquarius. And yes, Saturn is going to retrograde in July and come back into Capricorn. So we're going to see Saturn retrogress back into Capricorn in July this summer. However, Saturn and Pluto will not meet up again. Pluto is going to retrograde on April 25th. That is something that we will talk about more in depth later on as we go through these charts. And so Pluto is not going to catch up to Saturn. What we are going to see is Jupiter will catch up to Saturn, but not in Capricorn, in Aquarius at the end of the year, December 21st. We're going to see Jupiter conjunct Saturn in Aquarius, which is a major, major shift that we will talk about in a future video, as this is the great conjunction, right? Jupiter and Saturn, the biggest planets coming together to make this great conjunction in Aquarius, which ushers in a new era, a new timeline, which many are calling the Age of Aquarius. So that is something that we will talk about in a future video. But keep in mind that Pluto is not going to catch up with Saturn. And this is the first time that we are seeing Jupiter conjoined with Pluto. And so this can feel like a little bit of a relief for you in this area of thinking and communicating. And so as this big shift, because remember that Jupiter expands anything that it touches. So Jupiter is here to expand this ultimate transformation that is happening here in Capricorn, in your house of the mind, of the intellect, of communicating, of learning. And so there's a lot here that is being brought to your attention. A lot in terms of shifting your way of thinking, shifting your way of learning, of attaining information in your life that is going to affect your deepest relationships, your deepest feelings, your deepest desires. Right? And with Aquarius sitting in your house of home and family, and Mars and Saturn coming in, ushering in this new reality, this new truth, this new direction, right? These two malefic energies conjoined in your house of home and family, of connection. There is something big to say here, that this is feeling like a challenge or an obstacle in your home life. This is feeling like being hit with reality, being hit with the harsh truth in your home and family life. And so there's a lot of responsibility to take care of in this area. There's a lot that needs to get done in this area. And so Saturn and Mars are here to say it is time for you to take some action, to take the practical steps in your home and family life that need to get done, right? And so for those of you with Scorpio rising who have not done work in your home and family life, who have put off things that need to get done in this area of connection with your family, with those closest to you, this is time to do it. Now, Venus is also making an aspect over to Mercury conjoined with Neptune in Pisces. Keep in mind that Mercury has passed its shadow phase, so Mercury is speeding up now. And so Mercury is here towards the end of Pisces, where it is speeding up, getting ready to enter into Aries, where things will become much more clearer. But while Mercury is sitting here conjoined with Neptune in Pisces, Mercury is lost here, right? Mercury loses its power in Pisces as Mercury wants the knowledge, wants the facts, wants to make sense of things. But Pisces is this very creative, dreamlike, imaginative, spiritual, fantasy-driven, kind of mystical world where things do not make sense, right? Mercury this planet of intellect is lost in this very intuitive, imaginative, creative world of Pisces, especially as it is conjoined with Neptune, the ruler of Pisces. There is this feeling here of not knowing all of the information, not understanding everything that is going on here. And for those of you with Scorpio rising, this does put this in your 5th house of your hobbies, of your interests, of what excites you, what is fun, the things that you love. Dating, romance, excitement, expression, creativity, right? This house of fun and passion and excitement, very much confused about what direction you are going in terms of expressing yourself, right? And already with Pisces sitting here in your 5th house, this creates a very secretive type of self-expression. Very much behind the scenes, not seeking a lot of attention. However, a lot of spiritual insight, a lot of strong imagination and strong intuitive gifts as well. And so there is something big here about this energy of really needing to trust in your intuitive gifts, in your creative gifts, and being able to express them. Even though you can feel lost, you can feel confused, you can feel like you don't know the right way to express yourself, right? Very hard to put these feelings into words. But there is something big here about how Mercury wants you to express yourself in this area. And very much connected to relationships. Very much connected to these deeper feelings, these deeper passions and motives. Remember that Venus is sitting in your 8th house of passion, desire, determination, right? What is it that is deeply motivating you and driving you? These deeper feelings. Now we also have Venus making an aspect over to Chiron, as well as the Sun in Aries. And so Chiron has spent a great deal of time in Aries, and something that you may have noticed at the start of Aries season is that things were feeling very, very off as the Sun did conjoin with Chiron and Lilith, creating these deeper feelings, these misunderstandings, pulling insecurities and fears to the surface, pulling up old wounds that need healing. And so for many of you, Aries is sitting back in your house of work, routine, daily responsibilities, right? So this can feel like there isn't a lot that you can get done right now. There aren't a lot of things that you have under control in your life, right? This can feel like a wound or an insecurity or difficulty in getting your day-to-day responsibilities done. However, the sun is here where the focus here is trying to get these things done. And so this can create a lot of frustration in your daily life, in your routines. And so with this, keep in mind that anything that you cannot do at this current moment, anything that is blocked from you, anything that is frustrating you, is still able to get done over time. And so this isn't asking you to give up. This is asking you to address the fear, the block, the insecurity, the doubt, the restriction that is stopping you from getting done what it is that you would like to get done here in your life. So let's go ahead and take a look at the next major planetary shift, which will be on April 4th when Jupiter makes a conjunction to Pluto. Right, so we're just 2 days away from this. Jupiter conjunction with Pluto. And this is big. Again, we talked about this in the previous shift, but this is the exact conjunction point of this Jupiter and Pluto story of expanding this transformation in your way of thinking and believing. And this is important because this is leading up to a major Pluto retrograde, right? Pluto will retrograde as it's conjoined with Jupiter. And so it is ushering in these great big changes and transformation within your way of thinking and communicating and believing and learning and pulling in this information and knowledge into your life. And so for some of you, it is changing your interests. It is changing the things that you are curious about, the things that you are seeking to learn about. And once again, it is making the aspect over to Venus, which is now at 1 degree of Gemini. And so very much in tune with your values at that deeper level, right? The things that are more intimate, more close to you, the things that you feel a deeper passion and desire for. Now, what is interesting about this is that Venus is making a square over to the moon in Virgo. And this is going to create conflict. This is going to create conflict between what makes you feel comfortable. Remember, we're talking about Venus and Gemini in your house of your deeper desires, your passions, the more hidden area of your life, the more intimate, more deeper area of your life. And it's making a square over to the moon, which is sitting in Virgo, sitting in your 11th house of friends, of social groups, social organizations, your long-term goals, right? And so there is something big here about feeling like you need to take responsibility in your social connections, as well as your long-term goals and hopes and dreams that you have for yourself. But also, it's in conflict because there's another part of you that is wanting to find comfort in focusing on expressing these deeper desires connecting to these deeper desires and feelings within you. And so there's a little bit of a conflict between connecting within yourself and connecting outward to others. Also keep in mind that for those of you who have Scorpio rising, that Venus is going to make an aspect to your rising sign as well, because Venus is sitting here in Gemini. And so this can make one of two aspects to your rising sign. This can create an opposition or an in conjunction. Right? So this is either an opposition or a quincunx. In conjunction, quincunx meaning the same thing, which the quincunx or in conjunction is that missed understanding or that missed opportunity. Opposition is this polar opposition, right? There is this opposing factor to these energies. And so with this, keep in mind that when it comes to your deepest desires, there can be a difficulty actually bringing that to the surface, actually experiencing that within your life. Again, with that Chiron sitting back in Aries, back in that house of your work, your daily responsibilities, your routine, it can very much feel like, especially now as Lilith, the Sun and Chiron are sitting together in Aries, like there isn't a lot that you can get done here. Like there is a little bit of resistance in this area of your life. So let's go ahead and take a look at the next major planetary shift. On April 11th, Mercury will enter Aries. And so yes, Mercury has finally come to the point where it is leaving its fall position. And so Mercury is starting to gain some clarity here as it shifts into Aries. However, keep in mind that as soon as Mercury enters into Aries, it does make a conjunction to Lilith and Chiron, which can bring a lot of insecurities, a lot of deeper feelings and desires to the surface, again in this area of daily routine and responsibilities, which can very much create this feeling of insecurities, of doubts, of blockage in this area where you are trying to get responsibilities and work done in your life. Now, Mercury is also making a square over to the North Node in Cancer. And this is the North Node at 1 degree. So again, the North Node is preparing, getting ready to make its way into Gemini to switch, to shift our destiny, our lessons, the path that we are being called towards. And so we're getting to this critical moment, this last moment of taking care of this karmic story of the North Node in Cancer. This is getting to the last call of making sure that you are nurturing and taking care of yourself in this area of your life. Right? And for many of you, Cancer is sitting in your 9th house of philosophy, of belief systems, of exploration. And so there is something big here to say about, are your belief systems nurturing you in your life? Are they beneficial to you? For those of you with Scorpio rising, if your belief systems are not benefiting and nurturing and serving a purpose in your life, this is that critical moment where a lot of the work that you need to do comes to the surface. Mercury is here to bring the clarity, the answers, the knowledge to you. Now, Mercury is also making a trine over to the moon in Sagittarius, which is sitting in your second house of values, of finance, of security, of your possessions, of the things that you put your worth and value into. And so as the moon is sitting here, many of you can feel very passionate about your values, about your morals, about what is truly worth it in life. And the moon in Sagittarius here, this can bring up a lot of questions, a lot of thinking about these values, about what is truly worth it in your life. And keep in mind that Cancer sitting in your ninth house of your philosophies, your belief systems, which is very much connected to this, as that is the original house of Sagittarius. Mercury is also making the aspect over to Pluto and Jupiter conjoined in Capricorn, once again, sitting in your house of intellect and communication. It is also making an aspect over to Saturn conjoined with Mars in Aquarius, which is sitting in that eighth house, once again, of those deeper desires, those passions, those motives, those more intimate connections, right? The things going on behind the scenes. And so this can give you a lot of answers about how to push for these goals, how to push for these desires to be fulfilled, to come to the surface. So this is a great time for you to push, for you to fulfill these desires and these goals and achievements that you can create in your life. Right? So in this area of home and family in Aquarius, there is something big here about how, especially if we're talking about your daily life, your routine, right? Keep in mind that this Aquarius is very much in tune with your 8th house in Gemini, as this is a more private house. This is about the feeling, the connection, the deeper, more intimate connections, right? So it's interesting that we have Mars sitting here in this house of family, Venus sitting in this house of deeper feelings and desires. Very similar houses, right? In both of these energies of Mars and Venus, dealing with attraction, dealing with desire, dealing with passion. And so you are being called and driven, once again, to push for these deeper desires, to push for these goals. And so with this, with Mercury creating this aspect over to Mars and Saturn conjoined in your house of home and family, this can definitely bring up the answers and the clarity that you were looking for as far as how you are going to take care of these responsibilities in your home life, how you are going to get through these blocks and restrictions in these things in your daily life that you need to take care of. So let's go ahead and take a look at your next major transit. And so on April 19th, the Sun enters Taurus, and right away it makes a conjunction with Uranus, which is also in Taurus. Keep in mind that Taurus is your relationship house. It is your house of other people, your professional house, your public house, right? This is the house where you relate to others. And this can deal with business partners, marriage contracts, right? Marital partners, one-on-one relationships. So this is your connection to your public life. So with the Sun here and Uranus here, there's a lot of changes going on in this area for you. There's a lot of changes going on as far as who you are connecting to, as far as your public life, your professional life, right? As far as your relationship with others. There's a lot of radical changes going on in this area. And with the Sun conjoining Uranus, this is shining a light on this area. And so something big that you can see here with the Sun and Uranus making this conjunction is that you can see a lot of unexpected changes and events happening in this area. Something that you can also see here is this will show you the changes that need to take place in this area of your life as well. Now, this is also making a sextile over to the North Node in Cancer. And this sextile over to the North Node in Cancer is once again showing you that this is the last moment to make sure that these belief systems are nurturing, that they are of the highest value to you, that they are beneficial to you, right? If these belief systems are negative, this has a negative effect on your connections, on your public life. And so, at this last moment, before the North Node gets ready to enter into Gemini, there's some work that needs to be done as far as making sure that your belief systems are nurturing, that they are beneficial, that they are serving your highest, greatest good. Now, this is also making an aspect over to Pluto and Jupiter in your house of intellect once again, and with Saturn in Aquarius sitting in your house of home and family. And so in your personal life, especially, right, for you, Scorpio, there's a lot going on in your personal life, more so than your public life. So especially in your day-to-day connections, in your family, in your home life, in your private life, right? These more personal, more intimate connections. This is where we're seeing a lot of shift and changes take place. And this is ushering into a new reality, a new structure of how your connection to home and family is going to take place. And so there's a lot of call for responsibility in this area, right? And with Saturn and Aquarius sitting in your home life, there is a call to take care of and serve and be there to support your family, your connections. So let's take a look at the next major planetary shift. which will take place on April 22nd when we have a new moon in Taurus. So this is a new lunar cycle taking place in your house of relationships. And so the sun was already sitting here in this conjunction with Uranus, but now we have the moon joining in as well. So now we have the two luminaries conjoining your Uranus in your house of relationships, in your house of other people. And so this shines a light on the changes that need to take place within your friendships, within your romantic relationships, within your business partners, your associates, right? Any kind of one-on-one relationships. Radical changes and surprises are taking place in this area. And this sheds a major light on these changes that are taking place, as well as the changes that you need to take place in this area as well. Now, this new moon is also making a sextile over to the North Node in Cancer. And so once again, this is the last call to make sure that your belief systems, that your thoughts, that your philosophy that you are living by is coming from a place of love and not from a place of fear. To make sure that these belief systems serve and benefit you in your life. Because this is the North Node at 0 degrees of Cancer. This is the critical degree. This is the last opportunity for you to take advantage of this North Node in Cancer before it shifts back into Gemini. And with this, for some of you, this new moon is making opposition or in any conjunction to your rising sign in Scorpio. And so this can create challenges. This can feel like these changes are beneficial to others, but not to you, right? As this is an adverse aspect to you, to yourself, to your identity, your self-image, right? So these changes are not happening with you, they're happening with others around you. And so this can create a feeling of losing people, losing connections, right? Feeling lonely, feeling lost. And so keeping in mind that you are remaining focused and connected. There's an extreme focus here now that the Mars is off of Saturn. And so the aspect over to Mars by itself, putting extreme focus and passion into your family, into your home life. And so as it can feel distant and detached from others, there's a call for you to connect back to your home, back to your family, back to the closest people to you. This is also making a semi-sextile over to Neptune in Pisces. And so again, this can bring up a lot of fears, a lot of insecurities, a lot of doubts, a lot of loneliness in terms of your connections with others. And so again, it is calling for you to come back to home, to family, to the deepest connections that you have. It is also calling for you to have faith, to believe. With Pisces sitting in your 5th house of creativity, of expression, of fun, of excitement, there is this call to have faith in what you can create and manifest into your life. Because at this moment, there is a lot of loneliness that can come up here. So let's take a look at your next major planetary shift, which will happen on April 25th when Pluto stations retrograde. And so Pluto will retrograde in a conjunction with Jupiter in Capricorn in your house of intellect. And so this can create a period of deeper thinking, a deeper level of transformation in terms of the way that you think, the way that you communicate, the way that you associate with others. And so there's a lot of knowledge, a lot of learning that can come with this shift, with this transformation in your house of intellect. This is also making an aspect over to the Sun conjunct Uranus in Taurus, which can create radical changes in this area of your life big time. And so when it comes to relationships, your way of thinking does change and affect who you are connecting to, who you are associating with, right? Major changes happening here as far as relationships. That all comes from this internal change and transformation that is happening for you on a deep intellectual level. And so again, that North Node at the last degree of Cancer, what are you going to choose to think, to believe, to put your faith in? What is your philosophy? What are you living by? What does the journey look like for you? Is it something that is nurturing and beneficial? Because this has a major impact and effect on your relationships. This is also making an aspect over to Chiron in Aries, as well as Neptune in Pisces. And so this can bring up a lot of doubt, a lot of fear, a lot of illusions at this moment, where you can feel very lonely, very detached. There's this illusion that you are distant from others. And again, this is where this Mars in your house of home and family comes in, of making sure that you are connecting to the people closest to you at this time. So let's take a look at the last major planetary shift of April, which will be Mercury entering Taurus. So Mercury gained its speed and moved ahead into Aries, and now it has moved ahead into Taurus here on the 27th of April. And keep in mind that Mercury is moving quickly through. We will not see Mercury slow down until it gets into Cancer, which we will see in the summer, when it has its second retrograde of the year. But for now, Mercury is speeding through at a very quick pace, gathering information, gathering knowledge, communicating, coming up with brand new ideas, especially as it was moving through Aries, this very fast-paced energy. Now, as it moves into Taurus, there is this call to slow down a little bit. There is this call to take your time to really think things out in a practical, planned out way, to really come up with a strategy. And this is in your house of relationships, a strategy with how you are going to approach others. And this is making a sextile over to the moon in Cancer, which the moon is making a conjunction for the last time with the North Node in Cancer. Remember that the North Node is going to shift into Gemini in early May. So this is the last moment of the moon coming together with the North Node in Cancer. The next time that we see the moon conjoin the North Node, it will be in Gemini. So this is it. This is the critical degree of that North Node in Cancer. This is that last moment, that last opportunity. And the moon is there trying to shed light on this, trying to bring out the feeling of what it is like to nurture your values, what it is like to have that deeper connection, what it is like to do what is truly of value, of worth to you in your life. And remember that this is in your area of higher belief and philosophy, where are you believing in something that is not beneficial to you in your life? Or are you fully nurturing and connecting to a belief system that is supportive, that does nurture you, that does benefit you in your life? This is it. This is the last call. And Mercury is also making the aspect, of course, we saw this earlier. It's making the aspect over to Pluto and Jupiter. This time it is also squaring Saturn in Aquarius. And so this is majorly affecting your connection to home and family, your connection to those closest to you, your connection to what is familiar to you, right? And directly affecting your way of thinking and communicating. And so remember that with Pluto retrograde in your house of thinking and communicating, this is time for deep thinking. This is time for taking your time to assess things, because this is revealing to you the changes that need to be made in your way of thinking and communicating. And so that is your April 2020 horoscope using astrology. This will be part 1 for you, Scorpio, so keep an eye out for part 2 of this horoscope, where we will go into the cards. This was a longer video, so thanks so much for those of you who stuck around and watched. Again, if you like this video, feel free to leave a thumbs up as well as a comment. If you are new to this channel, don't forget to hit the subscribe button as well as the notification bell so that you don't miss out on any new content. Feel free to join the group Astro Metaphysical Love and Light to share any positivity, motivational advice, spiritual wisdom of any kind. So feel free to join that group for positive insight. If you'd like to know more about astrology, feel free to join the group Astrology Lessons with Daquan Jones to learn astrology with me. Once again, thanks so much for joining. I hope you all have a great day, and I will see you in part 2 of this video.